What up everyone, it's your man XMen87 here, bringing you another top 10 video, and what I have for you today is my top 10 favorite Marvel Legends in entertainment, which means the non-comic stuff based on their genre, from a mixture of cartoons, animated movies, video games, live-action TV series, and MCU movies. Before we get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Here are the ones that didn't make the list, so the only honorable mentions I'll give here are the MCU Deadpool. I really like the figure, but he needed more weapons. At this point, every Deadpool figure should be a deluxe, as I always find myself wanting more for him. Spider-Man animated series, because the accessories were fun, and he just needed the retro Spidey upgraded torso, as he would have been one of the best modern Legends Spider-Man figures, because those red and blues, along with the head sculpt, they're perfect for me. And then XMen 97 Cyclops. I really wanted to put him on this list, but I have a rule of not including repaints, and I'll explain later, as the number 7 spot beats this one out for me. What held this back from making the list was the stupid forearm seam, as it's not needed since he doesn't wear long gloves, and the hair color is off. It's just too bright with no details. Give me a comic version of this with the genuinely accurate heads, the upgraded torso, all sorts of crazy optic effects. Make it a deluxe and Cyclops will return in my top 10 easily. Something about the X-Men yellow and blues that gets me every time, and this Cyclops makes the X-Men look even more perfect on my shelf. That's it for now, as my top honors will be announced halfway down the countdown. Now with that said, you know how my list works if you've been following me on my channel. So without further ado, let's get ready to count down! Leading off at the number 10 spot, we have the XMen 97 Goblin Queen Madeline Pryor. XMen 97 was no doubt a hot commodity this year in the entertainment world of Marvel, and for action figures too. I was so hyped to see Goblin Queen done in animation for the first time, and in action figure form for the first time too, not counting the HasLab since that was never released. Unlike the HasLab that's modern, I want the more 80s classic version of Goblin Queen, but this animated one will be a great substitute on the shelf until that classic comic one gets made. If you saw my top 10 favorite female legends of 2024, you already heard me sing its praises, so I don't want to repeat myself, but they just did a great job with her, from the cape, small little details like painting her fingernails, which sometimes they skip a lot on the females, the medallion, they even gave her the boob window cut on the chest. Not a bad accessory selection, but she needed a demonic alt head. I will say this is my favorite cartoon female head sculpt. Overall, she's a very pretty figure, and the show being set in the 90s can now make this figure passable to be displayed upon your 90s comic X-Men shelves too. Coming in at number 9, MCU Colossus. You know what makes a Colossus figure look really good? Metallic silver paint. And thankfully Hasbro has not skipped over that for any of their Colossus figures, which makes this suited perfectly for head swaps with the classic comic one. You know me, I don't like mix and matching for comics and movies unless it makes sense and it's easily passable. Sometimes I'll take those unexpected options for more play and display. So the accessories were pretty good with 2 different heads, alt hands, and his little rule book, which was hilarious. Always love when they can take something funny from the movies like that and include it with the figure. I gotta say, I was very impressed with this figure, from the stature to all the wonderful sculpted details on his costume. I never thought Colossus in combat pants would look badass. Thankfully they painted the segmented lines. And lastly, he wasn't bad in articulation for a figure this size. Having that 360 motion shoulder rotation that's very import-like instead of the traditional back and forth really caught me by surprise. He's just one hell of an amazing figure. Enough said. Coming in at the number 8 spot, the MCU Outriders. Holy hell. These things are incredibly nasty. I mean, just downright nasty. Besides how incredible they look, one thing comes to mind: army building. And man oh man, once you buy one and then open a second one and then a third one, you'll get instantly hooked to the point you just want to keep going and have all of them pile up on top of each other like the crazy horde that they are. Like something out of a World War Z movie. They really look like they're swarming at you from all angles, and that's how it's supposed to feel with these guys. Insane amount of details all over these things. They come with one accessory, and that's an alternate head to swap for some lieutenants. For $60, some alternate hands would have been nice, but honestly, I forget it only includes one accessories when I have them all huddled up together because they just look so insane that, again, I just end up forgetting about it. The articulation helps to make them look magnificently creepy like this, and even with double diaphragm joints too. The upper arms are right where they should be at the upper torso, and the bottom arms at the inverted ab crunch area. I can see all the intricate line work throughout the body. Just wish they looked up more in the articulation department. Just top tier sculpting, as Hasbro put maximum effort on these Outriders. Coming in at number 7 is the Spider-Man animated series Daredevil. This follows the Daredevil 3-pack from 2022, I believe. Yeah, this one beat out Cyclops for me. It was either him or the XMen 97 Cyclops for this spot. I just think this was the better all-around figure. Now, I have a rule about not putting repaints of characters that previously appeared in my top 10s, but screw it. Just for this entertainment category at least, I'm breaking that one rule. I'll keep that rule still standing for the comic category. This just blows the last one completely away. Hands down the best cell shading they've ever done on a figure. I wish they did this for the upcoming Spider-Man Unlimited figure, as I feel the heavy cell shading is missing for that look. I don't know if they were too scared to do it on that, but it's almost perfected here. Their last attempts were atrocious, so I'm glad to see them make the strides necessary to make that look effective. Stellar paintwork and the double Ds are visibly highlighted and not hidden like the one prior. Accessories are the same as the last, however he has the open splayed out hands that was very much needed last time around, and an alternate head with an angry expression. Having different expressions for characters like this is a must. One thing that's actually great about these heads is that you can put it on that 3-pack Daredevil and it'll still look really cool in my opinion. You know, if you want to try experimenting with some lighting and photography. All in all, this is now my favorite classic Daredevil figure I own. At the number 6 spot, it's the MCU Wolverine. 24 years in the making, and I still can't get over Hugh Jackman donning the comic yellow and blue Wolverine costume. Still can't get over it in figure form either. He looks great. Is he perfect? No. As I said before, the one thing that bothered me most was the design on his hips sticking outwards. Other than that, I can get past it with how amazing the sculpt is. They nailed the costume down with all the sculpted designs from seams to textures. I even like what they did with the claws by sculpting the chutes at the very bottom, having it all in one piece. But he has alt hands too and a Logan head as well. I like the mask a lot. The only other thing I would have changed is the torso articulation. He should have had the double diaphragm and not the traditional ab crunch / hardline waist swivel combo. But I didn't expect them to do the import style articulation with the 360 shoulder rotation like how I mentioned with Colossus. Refer to my review as I demo it. It was interesting to see that drop down arm that you can also shift up and rotate it around. It was something I wasn't expecting for them to upgrade in the articulation department. Perhaps a glimpse at the future of what's to come for further advancements? We'll see. I can't really hate on it. This Wolverine was a must for my new MCU shelf, and I still enjoy this figure. Halfway down the countdown, which means it's time for top honors, and my top honors goes to the Werewolf by Night Man-Thing. I'm not gonna lie, I was ignoring y'all about it, but then I gave it a chance and watched it this past Halloween, and oh my god, you guys were right. My bad, I should have listened to you guys sooner, as I was just burnt out by those shitty MCU Disney Plus shows, so I'm sure you'll understand, but I did not have any intentions to buy this figure until I saw that special. I instantly bought it and sold my comic bath. No regrets, it gets the job done on the shelf. Even though the bath has better paint, this is still not that bad. I never mix an MCU figure with my comic shelf, and I broke that one rule with this one because, I mean, he's pretty much 100% comic accurate. Plus, he's pretty much the bath, just with some new parts. And one thing that I also like about this more than the bath is that he also has alternate hands with fists. So I like that I can have my Man-Thing punching and not just scratching or grabbing. A good figure, a good short movie. I watched it in black and white, and I'll watch it the next time in color. Hopefully they can update a comic one someday, but for now, this'll do. Let's get into my top 5 with my number 5 being Vulture from Spider-Man the Animated Series. The animated series Vulture was next to the Chameleon for one of my most desired villains in the animated series line. One of their best executed cartoon figures. At first, not having the correct cartoon accurate wings scale-wise really did bother me. They are very undersized and they should have been way bigger, but I've gotten over it and I do understand why they chose it on a design standpoint, as it pretty much has the same exact shape where the feathers are shaped like blades. Plus, they look nice when you hit certain poses. The various green shaders are keen to the eye. No complaints on articulation, but I will say he needed shoulder rockers. That's how I felt with the Angel figure. It's a necessity for flying characters with wings, as pivoting their shoulders is a natural movement for them. Proportions are a little rocky around the hip region, but doesn't ruin the figure completely for me. The accessories are acceptable, as having both young and old man Adrian Toomes cartoon heads was a must. Even getting a Flash Thompson head made the Spider-Man that much better because it gives you more to mess around with. Again, I think this is one of their best cartoon figures executed. This slaps some more animated love on my Spider-Man shelf, and those are the looks that are replacing my comic ones. That's the roster I'm aiming to complete so that my childhood can be seen on my shelf. At number 4, we have the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Cable. This has my favorite Cable head sculpt to date, and it's so MVC2 accurate. And of course, the entire figure being Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is what makes me strongly attached to this figure through pure nostalgia. It's not perfect, but even with its flaws, I couldn't stop loving this thing. The plastic metallic molding was very well done with a nice beautiful shimmer. They didn't need to do much here. The less is more route was super effective, although I can't stand that one damn arm with the pins. That's the one thing they should have fixed to make it completely pinless. The accessories are fine for me, and I would have preferred more evened out hands than more weapons. However, they should have included his hyper beam cannon. Now it's making me think Hasbro might pull off what they did with releasing a deluxe modular Iron Man later to include the proton cannon. So what if they do the same thing here, giving us a deluxe Cable and his hyper beam cannon? I wouldn't put it past them. I can see that happening tomorrow. Video games are my jam, so anytime there's a figure based off games that I love, especially classic ones, shut up and take my money. Just what I needed on my Marvel Legends Gamerverse shelf. There's a lot of figures that have dark color palettes on my video game shelf, so this one here just gives it that nice video game color pop it needs. At number 3, X-Men 97 Executioner. The Executioner has it all for what you'd want in a cartoon figure in terms of visual appeal and aesthetics. The only thing he's missing is extra hands, but his weaponry loadout takes priority, and I understand that. The Shi'ar weapons are great to store on his rifle. Even equipping your Lalandra with these weapons makes for some good usage out of these. Love that they can store on his rifle onto his back. The rifle has this clear cylindrical tube that serves as a cap. Just wish it was in a translucent yellow so that it looks like it's charging up for a blast. Then the Sentinel Propulsion Blaster is probably my favorite accessory. You can tell that they put a lot of love and care into his arsenal, as that's important for the character. They captured the character on that front. Nothing feels broken up in the combination of sculpt, aesthetics, and articulation, as it's some of their finest work. Then the articulation is great on all fronts here, giving him a ball-jointed neck and waist that maneuvers this figure extremely well. Well past my expectations. Maybe someday they'll give us a comic-accurate version with the chainmail look, but what a mighty damn good job done by Hasbro here. Coming in at the number 2 spot is the Carnage Deluxe from the Venom Let There Be Carnage film, and man, this thing is just wild. It is insanely wild to look at. Sometimes when I see this from afar, I'm like, yo, is that really a Marvel Legends figure? When Marvel Legends goes hard on sculpting, they go really hard, swinging for the fences, and I think they hit an out of the park home run here. Carnage is top tier sculpting all around. Unfortunately, he's missing a lot of paint on the back to complete the look. We get some paint, but there's more left to be desired. That's the only thing he's missing because he has everything else you'd want in a deluxe. Again, top tier sculpting, alternate heads, hands, film accuracy scaling next to Venom, weapons, the freaking bendy wire tendrils, which adds to the insanity of this figure and the character's nature. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, I know I'm saying that word a lot, but it's just fitting, being that this figure is just as insane as Cletus Cassidy's mental state. My favorite movie figure of the year, and I think the best Legends figure maybe in the last few years. Helps that they actually took their time with the finished product look and not rushed it out based off of concept art. So I don't mind it being 3 years too late. It was worth it. It's one of the most wildly insane looking Legends figures of 2024. All in all, this is a top of the line offering this year for Marvel Legends. And at the number 1 spot, it is the X-Men Retro Arcade Sentinels. Yeah, my X-Men bias has taken over again. I mean, as collectors, we all have our biased opinions that come into play for our top 10s. You heard me sing its praises coming from the adulation of my video game heart. Even though my wish for these was there, seemed like a far gone wish. Never did I ever think this was really possible, so I didn't want to ever get my hopes up because, again, video games are my jam and I didn't know how deep they can go to pull from video game lore. Now I feel like anything is possible. This is one of the best tributes ever paid from the line. Yo, I'm just a sucker for these damn mutant hunting robots. You give me any Sentinels and I'm all in. Just something about them that I can't resist the army build for my collection. Purely because Sentinels are just so much fun to army build, and that's exactly what this pack was set out to be, with enjoyable accessories, which pays a great homage to the game. I love having more army builders to go up against the X-Men, and you can never go wrong with Sentinels, no matter the size. Though I originally wanted them to be BAF-sized, about 8 to 9 inches, the 7.2 inch isn't bad for video game accurate scaling. The only fixing here needed to be made was the mismatched plastic color tones on the elbows and knees, along with the pink being a little too bright where it should have been a more reddish color. The heads and ankles needed improvement as well, because that's always a weakness for every Sentinel figure due to their robotic designs. I don't mind the articulation elsewhere, as I'm just happy it's an all-new sculpt from scratch, because I was afraid they would take the lazy route and just reuse the Iron Man Model 9. I'm happy they didn't go that way. So no need to make any more Sentinel customs either off Iron Man bodies. I've seen that done so many times. Having humanoid-sized Sentinels was something I always heard fans say they wanted, and those collectors who are fans of the 92 retro X-Men game like myself will absolutely adore these. This pack is just so much fun with that big-ass rock that you can just toss around at your X-Men figures. Not just that, but exploring outside of this pack is what made it even more fun for me by plugging in the Omega Red tentacles and even giving them the Sentinel propulsion cannon that came with Executioner. It was the replay value that kept me coming back. Use your creativity and there's just levels to this shit, man. I'll say it again. Replay value is king. This is why it's number 1 for me. Now I kick it back to you. What are your top 10 Marvel Legends from entertainment? Which ones from my list made it into yours? And also, what non-comic based figures would you like to see for Marvel Legends in 2025? Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. Thanks for watching another top 10 video. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xmanny87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Again, leave a like to support the channel. Share and subscribe if you're new. See you on the next video. Peace, peace.